Hello and welcome to Lovely English Stories. This story is written for intermediate English learners. You can download the PDF transcript of this story as an all-access Patreon on our Patreon page. Ready? Let's get started. B1, B2, English Story. The Village. The Smith family had just moved to the village. They had previously lived in Manchester and wanted to escape the city. Both Chris and Vanessa had grown up in the countryside and moved to the city for university. They had lived there for over 12 years and now craved the countryside. Since getting together 8 years prior, they had welcomed twin girls into the world. They were called Catherine and Rosa. They were coming up to 3 years old. Chris and Vanessa knew it was time to wave goodbye to the city lights of Manchester and move to the Cotswolds to be closer to their families. Luckily, Chris had a job which enabled him to work remotely 80% of the time, and Vanessa had her own business as an online marketing coach and copywriter, so she could work from anywhere. They had spent the last 5 years seriously saving for a deposit for a house, and they now had enough money to get something half decent. After spending the last year going over their accounts and figuring out where they wanted to be based, they took the plunge, put an offer on a house, and were lucky enough to get it. This is rare, and they realized how incredibly lucky they had been. They thought that perhaps fate was trying to tell them something. They packed up their belongings and stayed with Vanessa's family until the house was ready to be moved into. During that time, they started to explore the village. They had taken 2 weeks annual leave from work so they could get acclimatized to their new surroundings. Everything seemed so quiet to them after living in a busy part of the city. They had to get used to listening to the sounds of nature and the occasional bird, rather than it being the other way round. Catherine and Rosa loved being in the village. They got to see their grandparents and they saw so many exciting animals. Every day, their grandpa took them to the duck pond in the village and they fed the ducks. Then they'd go for a walk around the village and, on the way, they would see the sweet shop, the village shop, and newsagents, the butchers, the post office, the pub, the church, and the village hall. Everything Chris and Vanessa could want was in such a small area. The only thing that was missing was a supermarket, but they could make weekly visits to the nearest one, or they could order online and have their bulky shopping delivered. After finally moving into their house and settling into the village, they realized what the best aspect was of being part of a small community, and it was how friendly everyone was. Of course, they had some nosy neighbours. You can never escape that in a small village. But everyone was so kind and welcoming. Vanessa decided to start yoga classes at the village hall, and Chris started painting classes. They signed their girls up for the small village nursery, and through that, they met lots of local families. And before they knew it, they were invited to birthday parties and other gatherings almost every weekend. Their social life had never been as full. The best thing about living in the village was at festive times of the year. The village had won awards for its flower displays in the summer and for its beautiful traditional Christmas decorations through the month of December. The village was awash with fairy lights, Christmas trees, tinsel, and all things sparkly. A local man also dressed up as Father Christmas and entertained the children with his stories of reindeer and flying around on Christmas Eve. The local choir also sang Christmas carols on the village green, while everyone drank mulled wine and hot chocolate. It was magical. At New Year, the pub held an amazing party which attracted people from the surrounding villages. During the autumn months, the villagers organised pumpkin carving competitions and trick-or-treat evenings for the children. In November, on the village green, a huge bonfire and fireworks display took place, and the local villagers would sell food and drinks to keep everyone warm. They always used silent fireworks, so they didn't scare the animals in the local farms, and of course, their own pets. Chris and Vanessa love their new home in the village. Often, when Chris has to travel to Manchester for work, Vanessa will go with him and work from a cafe or meet her friends. That way, they both get their fix of city life and then return back to the comfort of their peaceful home. Moving closer to their family has changed their lives for the better. Now their children have a closer relationship with their grandparents, and they get to play with their cousins regularly. Living in a village has turned out to be everything the Smith family wanted it to be, and more. Would you rather live in a village or a city? Or perhaps you'd rather live in the countryside? Tell us in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can download the PDF transcript of this and other stories on our new Patreon page. See you soon!